Imagine sitting at a quiet family dinner where asking for a few coins destroys everything. Pyotr just needs his train fare for college, but his angry father violently explodes, shouting that the family is robbing him. Will Pyotr survive this toxic home, or will he freeze to death on the dark roads trying to run away? Yevgraf Ivanovich Shiryayev was a small farmer. His father, who used to be a local priest, had received 300 acres of land as a gift from a rich widow. Now, Shiryayev was standing in a corner by a copper wash basin, washing his hands. As always, he looked angry and worried, and his beard was untidy. "What terrible weather," he complained. "It's not just weather, it's a curse. It's raining again," he kept complaining while he washed his hands. His family sat at the dinner table, waiting for him so they could finally eat. His wife Fedosia, his college son Pyotr, his oldest daughter Varvara, and 3 young boys had been waiting for a long time. The 3 little boys, Kolka, Vanka, and Arhipka, were dirty and had messy hair that needed a haircut. They had chubby faces and cute little noses. Because they were so hungry and tired of waiting, they kept moving around restlessly in their chairs. But the older family members sat completely still. They looked as if they didn't even care whether they ate or just kept waiting. As if he wanted to test their patience, Shiryayev dried his hands very slowly. He said his prayer slowly and then sat down at the table without any rush. Hot cabbage soup was served right away. From the yard outside, they could hear carpenters building a new barn and a farm worker laughing while teasing a turkey. Heavy raindrops hit the window glass. Pyotr, a student who wore glasses and slouched a bit, kept looking at his mother while he ate. A few times, he put his spoon down and cleared his throat, trying to start a conversation. But every time he looked at his father's face, he got scared and started eating again. Finally, when the porridge was served, he took a deep breath and said, "I need to leave tonight by the evening train. I should have gone earlier. I have already missed 2 weeks of college, and my classes started on the 1st of September. "Well, go then," his father agreed. "Why are you still waiting here? Pack your bags and go. Good luck." A minute of silence passed. "He needs money for the journey, Yevgraf Ivanovich," his mother said in a quiet voice. "Money? Of course. You can't travel without money. Take it now, since you need it. You could have asked for it a long time ago." The student let out a quiet sigh of relief and looked at his mother. Shiryayev slowly took his wallet out of his coat pocket and put on his glasses. "How much do you need?" he asked. "The train ticket to Moscow is 11 rubles and 42 kopecks. "Ah, money," the father sighed. He always sighed when he saw money, even when he was getting paid. "Here are 12 rubles. The change will be useful for you on the way." "Thank you." Pyotr waited a moment and then said, "I might not find a part-time teaching job right away. I should probably ask you for 15 more rubles to pay for my food and room." His father thought for a moment and sighed heavily. "You will have to manage with 10, he said. "Here, take it." The student thanked him. He actually needed more money for clothes, college fees, and books. But after looking at his father's strict face, he decided not to push his luck. However, his mother could not stay quiet. Like many mothers, she just wanted to help her son, but she picked the wrong moment. "You should give him 6 more rubles for a pair of boots," she said. "Look at his shoes. How can he go to Moscow in those rags? Let him take my old ones. They are still perfectly fine. But he needs pants too. He looks terrible," she argued. Right after she said that, a storm warned its arrival. The whole family froze in fear. Shiryayev's short, thick neck suddenly turned as red as a beetroot. The red color moved up to his ears and then covered his whole face. He moved uncomfortably in his chair and unbuttoned his shirt collar so he could breathe. He was clearly trying to control his wild anger. A death-like silence filled the room. The children held their breath. But Fedosia, as if she didn't realize how dangerous her husband was getting, she kept talking. He is not a little boy anymore. He feels ashamed to walk around in torn clothes. Suddenly, Shiryaev jumped up. With all his strength, he slammed his thick wallet down in the middle of the table. A piece of bread flew off a plate. His face looked terrifying, full of anger, bitterness, and greed. "Take everything!" he screamed in an unnatural voice. "Rob me! Take it all! Choke me!" He grabbed his head and walked around the room like a crazy person. "Strip me to my last thread. Squeeze out every drop. Rob me. Break my neck." The student turned pale and looked down. He couldn't eat anymore. Fedosia, who still wasn't used to her husband's terrible temper even after 25 years, shrank back and whispered something to defend herself. She looked terrified, like a scared little bird. The young boys and the older sister, Varvara, dropped their spoons and sat frozen like statues. Getting even more furious, the father rushed back to the table. He started shaking the money out of his wallet. "Take it," he yelled, shaking all over. "You've eaten all my food, so take my money too. I don't need anything. Go buy yourself new boots and clothes." Pyotr stood up, breathing heavily. "Listen, Papa," he gasped. I beg you to stop this. Please." "Shut your mouth!" his father roared so loudly that his glasses fell off his nose. "Just shut your mouth! I used to tolerate these scenes," Pyotr cried. But I can't do it anymore. Do you understand? I am done with this." "Hold your tongue," the father screamed, stomping his feet. "You must listen to me. I will say whatever I want, and you will stay quiet. When I was your age, I was earning my own food. Do you know how much you cost me, you useless boy? I'll throw you out of the house." "Yevgraf Ivanovich," the mother whispered nervously. "You know Petya is—" "Shut up," Shiryaev yelled at her. Tears of pure anger formed in his eyes. "You ruined them. It's all your fault. He doesn't respect us. He doesn't pray, and he earns nothing. I am just one man working for the 10 of you. I'll throw you all out." Hearing this, Varvara stared at her mother with empty eyes, turned completely pale, gave a loud scream, and fainted in her chair. The father cursed, waved his hand dismissively, and ran out into the yard. Usually their family fights ended just like this. But today, Pyotr was completely blinded by anger. He was just as hot-tempered as his father. Pale and with his fists tightly closed, he walked up to his mother and screamed at the top of his lungs. "I hate this. It makes me sick. I don't want anything from you. Nothing. I would rather die of hunger than eat another bite of your food. Take your disgusting money back. Take it." His mother backed up against the wall, waving her hands as if she were looking at a ghost, not her son. "What did I do?" she cried. "What did I do?" Just like his father, the boy waved his hands in frustration and ran out into the rainy yard. Shiryev's house stood all alone near a deep valley that stretched across the open fields. Small oak trees and bushes grew on the sides of the valley, and a little stream flowed at the bottom. On one side, the house faced the valley, and on the other, it faced the open country. There were no fences around the property. Instead, different farm buildings were crowded together, creating a small yard in front of the house where hens, ducks, and pigs ran around. After leaving the house, the student walked along the muddy road toward the open fields. The autumn air was cold and damp, chilling him to the bone. The road was full of wet puddles. Looking at the yellow, dying grass in the fields, it felt like the gloomy, dark face of autumn was staring right at him. On the right side of the road, there was an empty, sad-looking vegetable garden. A few dead sunflowers stood there, their black heads hanging down. As he walked, Pyotr thought it would be a great idea to walk all the way to Moscow on foot. He would go exactly as he was, with holes in his shoes, no hat, and not a single penny in his pocket. He imagined that after he had walked 80 miles, his father would finally catch up to him. His father would be terrified and beg him to come back home or take the money. But Pyotr would not even look at him. He would just keep walking. He pictured himself walking through empty fields and bare forests. Soon, the first snow would fall and the streams would freeze into ice. Then, somewhere far away, exhausted and starving to death, he would collapse and die. People would find his dead body, and the newspapers would write, "A student named Shiryev has died of hunger." A white dog with a dirty tail, who was looking for food in the garden, stared at him and started following him. Pyotr kept walking and thinking about death. He imagined his family crying and his father suffering from terrible guilt. Then, his imagination went even further. He pictured having amazing and dangerous adventures on the road. He imagined walking through beautiful places and spending scary nights outside. He pictured himself finding a small wooden hut in a dark forest with a single glowing window. He knocks on the door to ask for a place to sleep, and when they let him in, he realizes they are dangerous robbers. Or, even better, he imagined being invited into a grand, rich house. The wealthy people there would feel sorry for him, give him good food, play the piano for him, and listen to his sad stories. And then, the beautiful daughter of the house would fall deeply in love with him. Lost in these bitter and dramatic thoughts, the young man walked on and on. Far ahead, he saw the local inn, looking like a dark spot against the gray, cloudy sky. Past the inn, far in the distance, he saw a small hill. That hill was the train station. Seeing the station reminded him of Moscow. He thought of the bright street lamps burning in the city, the carriages rolling down the streets, and the university lectures going on. Thinking of this made him want to cry from sadness and frustration. The quiet, beautiful, and still countryside around him made him feel sick. He hated the silence and felt totally hopeless. "Watch out!" Suddenly, he heard a loud voice behind him. An old lady he knew, a wealthy landowner from the area, drove past him in a beautiful horse carriage. Pyotr stepped aside, bowed to her respectfully, and gave her a wide, polite smile. But right after, he realized what he had just done. Why did he smile so brightly when his heart was full of anger and pain? Where did that fake smile come from? He realized that nature has given human beings a special ability to lie. Just like wild birds hide their nests to protect their secrets, humans can hide their deep pain, even in their darkest moments. Every family has its own happiness and its own nightmares. But no matter how terrible things are inside, outsiders can never see the truth. It is always kept a secret. For example, the old lady who just drove by had a very painful life. Her father had been severely punished by the king. Her husband was a gambler who lost their money, and all 4 of her sons had turned out to be bad people. Pyotr could only imagine the terrible fights, the screams and the tears she must have experienced in her home. Yet, sitting in her carriage, she looked perfectly happy and satisfied. She had smiled right back at him. The student thought about his college friends, who never liked to talk about their families. He thought about his own mother, who always lied to others to make her husband and children look like a perfect family. Pyotr walked far from home until evening, lost in his sad thoughts. When it started to drizzle, he finally turned back toward the house. On his way back, he made a firm decision. He had to talk to his father and tell him, once and for all, that living with him was a suffocating nightmare. When he got inside, the house was completely quiet. His sister Varvara was lying in bed, softly moaning from a headache. His mother looked shocked and guilty. She was sitting on a box, quietly sewing little Arhipka's pants. His father, Yevgraf Ivanovich, was walking back and forth by the window, frowning at the rainy weather. From the way he walked and cleared his throat, it was clear he felt guilty about his earlier behavior. "I suppose you changed your mind about leaving today?" his father asked. Pyotr felt a sudden wave of pity for him, but he quickly pushed that feeling away. "Listen, I must speak to you seriously," he said. "I have always respected you, and I have never spoken to you like this. But your behavior, what you just did..." His father looked out the window and stayed quiet. Pyotr rubbed his forehead, trying to find the right words, and kept speaking with intense emotion. "Not a single dinner passes without you shouting and making a scene. You make us choke on our own food. Nothing is more humiliating than eating bread that sticks in your throat because of fear. You are my father, but nobody gave you the right to insult us and take your anger out on weak people. You have turned my mother into a frightened slave. My sister's spirit is completely broken and It is not your job to teach me," his father interrupted. "Yes, it is my job," the student said, his eyes flashing with anger. "You can fight with me all you want, but leave my mother in peace. You act this way because everyone is terrified of you and nobody dares to fight back. But that is over now. You are a cruel, heartless man. Even the farm workers can't stand you." Pyotr was so angry that he wasn't making clear sentences anymore. He was just firing off angry words. His father listened in silence, completely shocked. Then his neck turned dark red, and he moved forward. "Shut up!" he shouted. "See?" the son yelled back. "You don't like hearing the truth. Go ahead, keep shouting. Shut your mouth, I tell you," roared the father. Hearing the noise, the mother appeared in the doorway. She was very pale and tried to speak, but she was so scared that she could only shake her hands. "This is all your fault," Shiryaev yelled at her. "You raised him to be like this." "I don't want to live in this house anymore," the student cried out, looking angrily at his mother. "I don't want to live with you." Behind the screen, Varvara screamed and started sobbing loudly. Waving his hand in defeat and frustration, the father ran out of the house once again. Pyotr went to his room and lay down on his bed. He stayed there until midnight without moving or opening his eyes. He didn't feel angry anymore, and he didn't feel ashamed. He just felt a deep, empty ache in his soul. He didn't blame his father, nor did he pity his mother. He realized that everyone in that house was feeling the exact same pain, and only God knew who was suffering the most. At midnight, he woke up the farm worker and told him to get the horse ready for 5 a.m. so he could go to the station. Pyotr got ready for bed, but he couldn't sleep. The whole house was awake. They only spoke in quiet whispers. He could hear his father pacing back and forth by the window all night, sighing heavily. His mother came to his bed twice in the dark. Looking completely lost, she nervously made the sign of the cross over him to bless him. At 5 in the morning, Pyotr said a loving goodbye to his mother and siblings. He even shed a few tears. As he passed his father's room, he looked through the open door. His father hadn't changed his clothes or gone to bed at all. He was standing by the window, staring out and tapping his fingers against the cold glass. "Goodbye, I am leaving," the son said softly. "Goodbye, the money is on the round table," his father replied. Without even turning around to look at him, a cold, hateful rain was falling as the worker drove Pyotr in the cart toward the train station. In the gloomy fields, the dead sunflowers hung their black heads even lower, and the wet grass looked darker than ever.